Hello, and I'm going to start out this week in my old realm and kind of talk about what my plans are for the episode. So, I had mentioned last time that I want to make a new island, another themed island, to have a smelter. And this is basically what I like to do for smelting is I like to have a lot of furnaces, and in this case there's actually 64 of them. There's a stack of furnaces all connected with hoppers, and they all empty into one chest at the end here. And can I get up? Yes. And what I do is I fill up this hopper, this minecart with a chest. So like, okay, here there's 4 stacks of smeltable product. When I turn this on, the minecart will zip around and empty into all the furnaces. And that way it'll smelt 1 stack at a time, 1 item per furnace, so that you can cook through a stack really quick. So I'll turn this on here in a second. The secondary thing to this, which I probably will change up in the future, is I've got the fuel supply just constantly moving, constantly filling it up, and then I keep these chests full. I used to use bamboo because I like the fact, what I'm trying to do here is smelt one thing really quick, not a stack of things. It's very rarely that I would have, for me to run this completely, I would need 64 stacks basically to smelt through. I instead usually have 3 or 4 stacks like this. So the minecart will go around and start filling up every furnace. And you can see it'll have 1, and the second time it goes through it'll get a second. So 2 stacks will be gone, 3 stacks will be gone, and I can catch this minecart on the way through. You'll see that it should pretty well split them up evenly throughout all the items, or through all the furnaces. So they'll all have the same amount. And what this does is this allows me to smelt things very quick, so you can see them coming in pretty quickly. It's not the biggest smelter in the world, but generally speaking, I don't usually have more than 6 or 7 stacks of something I want to do at a time. And it goes through, instead of me waiting. I had a great comment on my last video from Rod, I believe it's Rod Snash, to use lava buckets, which is a great fuel supply. So like a lava bucket will smelt 100 items through a furnace, so more than a stack. But that works better when you've got like 4 or 5 furnaces like I have in my starter storage area to run through at a time. And then you have dripstone and you can automatically fill it up. This I can set it up and get a lot done really quick, if that makes it any simpler. So I might do the 2, and in the new setup too, to the comment is I'm probably going to have a lava farm set up near there too. So I might do a big smelter like this, as well as a smaller, larger stack, smaller furnace setup alongside, to have the best of both worlds. But the server reset should be done now, so let's get back onto the Epoch. And we're back into the Epoch, and I just thought I'd take another quick snapshot here of the island so you can get an idea of how much of this is done. See, the bottom half is done. It's just these top little bits, but I've completely run out of diamonds to buy anymore. I can't buy any more concrete for a while, but that's fine. Not having the roof on makes it a little bit easier to see to make my next farm or island, which is going to be right about here, which should be in this front corner, to put furnaces on. The other thing is I've worked on underneath. I started to fill this in, and I don't know, maybe it needs to be thicker on the edge instead of 1 block wide. So maybe the next island will be. I put some chorus fruit down just to get things started on the decorations. But I started to fill in underneath here and to make it like a little curved island. I don't know, I didn't want to go super crazy with it. It is a little bit thin on the edge, like I said. But I don't know how much I'll ever really see it. I kind of left some places for light. Eventually, probably like 2 or 3 weeks from now, I'll work on some other small bone meal farms. That's why I made the bone meal farm in the last episode, is I want to use that bone meal to make other items. And one of those items being glow lichen, so I can attach it on some of the undersides here to light it up so it's not quite so dark. But all in all, I think it's okay. I just think like maybe it should have been thicker coming out through here. But it's good. So for today, where this island is in this quarter, I want to make an island over through here. And like I said before, I want them on different elevations. I don't mean like way up here and way down there, but like 10 blocks higher over in this direction, perhaps. And not quite lined up. Space-wise, probably roughly the same footprint size as that island is what I need. I think I showed you my old realm, the furnaces on that, and that was like 64 furnaces, but each side was 30, it was half of them, so 32. So all I really need is 32 long. I don't have a building or a build design for it yet to go into. I'm probably going to need the furnaces themselves to make the nether brick. I think I'm going to make it like a nether theme. So to build a building might come after. I might just make the furnaces for now. So I'm thinking like, yeah, probably that height, but over here. So let me get that laid out and see how I feel about it. Well, can't say as I'm too happy with things yet. So I first mocked up this like semicircle moon shaped island because that was in my head what I wanted to do. But it's too close to this island, and I'm not paring this island down. I've already made it once. I'm not tearing it down now. And then if I go smeltery, and then I need like a green island. Do I need 4? I think maybe instead of doing 4, I do 3. So if I can bump this more centered on this doorway, so I'll bring it over like 20 blocks. In this shape, it's not really big enough. Like it's only, yeah, there's not enough space to really do much on it. So that's when I started to make just the square, like I did last time. I just made squares that are 10 blocks apart. So that's 30 by 30 basically. So I think I'm going to slide this whole thing down. The elevation change, I kind of like this height better. So I'm going to move this over and down a little bit. And then I can go bigger, because I think this was like 5 wide, 50 wide. So yeah, I'll probably skip a bit of the in-between, so maybe we'll go right into using netherrack and getting this mocked up. But yeah, over in this area, filling in about that much space, which will leave the third island to be like this third over in this area. But yeah, that should be better. So let's get some islands made. Yeah, in general, I think that feels a little bit better. It's lower and a little bit bigger. Um, I'm still going to do like, I think a crescent moon kind of shape, but maybe not so rigidly, perfectly circular. So I'll free form this in with some netherrack. Get some elevation changes. Like 3 or 4 blocks is fine. Maybe I'll work in some lava pools and stuff like that for decorations. So I want to have the big smelter, which is probably going to be, I mean, I could do 16 by 16, like a 16 square might be kind of cool instead of doing a rectangle. But I think I'll just let it fit the island. So I'm going to make an island here that looks the way I want it to look, and then just design something to fit it. And like I said, this iron island is still a work in progress. It works. Actually, I've got tons of iron there already. It's like 5 double chests of iron just in the time it took to make it. Like you can see, it's just started to oxidize now, the copper that was on the roof. So let's freeform some netherrack onto this and go from there. It's a little organic compared to like a perfect circle. I think I was gonna put that little bit's gonna come off there and make that flatter. Yeah, I'll get rid of the dirt grid and then start working on some elevation changes. I think it's going to be a couple of smaller buildings. I like the idea of a lava farm from that comment, and some furnaces I can run off of lava. So maybe I'll have like a lava pool, even potentially dripping off the, oh, I could have like lava dripping off of the island and then just like peg the very end of it in with like blocks of, or panes of glass or something you can't really see, to let the lava like flow down and float halfway down. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. The building will be smaller than this, of course. I'm thinking even like an oriental style building, but with nether bricks, nether themed builds, or fortress themes. So yeah, that should be kind of cool. I can start adding stuff to it. So let's get the dirt completely done and get it filled in. I'm instantly realizing that this is kind of hard probably for anybody to understand, but I've laid out where I'm going to put my furnaces. So I've got an entire stack of furnaces laid out. All have hoppers underneath of them, emptying into this chest for pickup. And then there's also a hopper going into the back of every furnace, which will put fuel into it. And then I'll have to come through with hoppers on top that actually take the product into the furnace. So let's get up here. What I did is I put a stack of dirt in my hand, so I knew exactly how much space I needed for furnaces, and I just laid it out here. So what I'll end up doing in the future is the building around this will go up, and I might have to terraform it a little bit to make it fit the building, but I made it not perfectly square and symmetrical, and I intend to use like the nether fortress kind of design to make a building around this. I'm not sure if I'll use the exact like block for block representation, but that kind of gist for a building. Simple. And then I can come back through and decorate basically with like the different nether biomes, like the blue warped kind of nelium stuff and the different wood types and a bunch of lava and or black stone and magma. There's all kinds of things I can use to decorate. The only thing I don't think I can do is make a tree. I'm worried that a tree will go up and actually work itself into the roof line. So maybe we'll keep the trees handmade if I'm going to put any in. But yeah, let me get the furnaces in and the mine carts and the rails and everything in, and see if this is a proof of concept that the furnace. It's pretty simple, realistically. Hopper in, hopper out, and a hopper for fuel. It's pretty simple. But let me get this in place. Well, I'd almost forgotten the little trick that I like to do. So these hoppers that point into the back of the furnace can only transfer fuel from here into here. So that being said, I intend on having minecarts travel back and forth across these hoppers, almost consistently trying to force fuel into the furnace. So anytime the furnace needs fuel, these hoppers will put something in. But there's 64 of them. So if I were to fill every one of these 64 times 5 spots, I'm wasting 4 stacks of fuel per every hopper. That's a lot of fuel. So what you can do instead is, if you fill these extra spots with something that can't be used as fuel, you're basically turning the hopper into a 1 stack. So then as the minecart comes around with fuel in it, it's only ever going to fill up the 1 spot. So you just have to go through, and like you would for an item filter, is go through and set every one of the spots you don't want to use with a filter item. In my case, I just converted a stack of iron that I got at that farm into nuggets, and I'm going to go through and block all these hoppers. So I'll block the hoppers, and then I'll put some powered rails on the top of it, and I'll show you how I power them. I'm starting to realize, of course, that this is completely the backwards way of doing something like this. Generally, what you want to try to do is design and make the building first and then put this into it, because as you build around hoppers, if I break blocks, the blocks are going to fall into the hoppers and then plug up the system. And then where I've got this kind of offset design where these furnaces are buried, there's not going to be a real easy way of cleaning the system out. So I'm just going to have to be really careful as I go along to make sure it's not worked out. Now, things that go into the top here, you can just reach from 90% of it. Like, I'll just be able to reach into the furnace and pull it out. The fuel, like I said, it's just these through, what, 6 or 7 through here. And if I lose a couple furnaces, really I lose a couple furnaces, it's not bad. So the powered rails are through for the fuel line, and then I've got this little chest and hopper set up here. So this minecart with a chest is going to be going around this track until the end of time. And as it passes this fuel supply, it's going to continually pick up from here and feed it through. So all I have to do to power this is place redstone blocks. You can see all the lines get powered. Now, this does not block the hoppers because you have to power the block directly touching it. This does, however, power the rail because the rail is taking up that space inside next to the block. It's very peculiar, very strange, but it works. So I can place these anywhere up and along here, and you can see them power up. It gets broken anytime that there's a regular rail, And I probably only need one for this whole section, but I might as well put some in, a bunch in. And now you'll see that since they're powered, I can now put this mine cart with a hopper on and give her a little head start, and this will go around forever. There's more than enough powered rails to keep this going, so if ever you're in a chunk boundary or come back, you're always going to find that this minecart is going. For decoration wise, I might come through and put redstone blocks on everyone, but for now that's all I need to do. The only thing I have to be mindful of is don't break this, because if I break it, it's going to fall into the hopper again, which will block it up and not allow fuel. So if you're concerned that these hoppers have fallen debris in them, if you go to run it to provide to burn or cook something in the furnace, and everything one of them light up except for, like, say this one, you'll know that there's a problem with the fuel supply with that one specific furnace. And if you had to, you could always break what blocks around it to get in. So the next thing to do would be to power the other rail. There's going to be another rail on top of the collection for the furnaces themselves, which in turn will be powered by these, because as I put powered rail there, it'll get powered. So these redstone blocks provide the power for that rail and this rail, because this rail, if you can see the hitbox, again, is taking up this block of space. So this redstone block is powering this and that. Now the only thing I can't really do yet, I don't have the fuel. I don't have enough fuel to fill up all these furnaces. And in order for this redstone or this rail line to pass, it's going to have to go in this block space when it goes around the corners. And until I have it designed, I don't really want to fill that space up, because if I break it again, it's going to fall into here. So I have to kind of design the building before I get too much farther. But this has all of the groundwork done, except for maybe a couple more powered rails. I can come through and put all these powered rails on top of all the hoppers. But what I have to be careful of is that these don't connect. I can't turn that. There's my problem right there. I'm gonna have to lose that one furnace. So powered rails won't turn. The only way to turn a powered rail is to use a generic rail to get the curve. Excuse me. So in order to get this turn, I'm going to have to lose two furnaces, which means I'll just extend the furnaces out here. And that's not that big a deal. Better to check it now than to after I've got the entire building done. So I'm going to get those two done. The other thing is, as to the comment earlier, I want to work a lava farm into here. But what I think I'm going to do for this area specifically is, this island is maybe a little bit smaller than that one. I'm a little close to the wall, but there is opportunity here to maybe put in a couple of smaller little islands So I might be able to work like a little island in here, or even another floating one up here. The other thing I want to do is potentially put it underneath. So like this end island, I was able to build it down and make quite a good room in here. Ooh. There's quite a bit of space in here underneath that, as I build this underneath, would then provide me plenty of space for a lava farm, because you need what, 3 blocks. You need a lava source, a dripstone, a solid block, a dripstone block, and then a cauldron. So you need 4 spaces. That's not bad. To have 4 spaces ahead, 4 blocks of space, it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, this island, I specifically didn't try to make a whole bunch of space, and then there's, I mean, plenty of space for storage through here. As you can see, the farm's working. Then these are all the hoppers I just made for the furnaces. So there'll be, yeah, I think I'll put the lava farm underneath. And then any other little islands that I make through here will just be for decoration, I believe. And then I have to come up with a design. And then, not only that, I have to come up with a permanent solution for fuel. Now, fuel, there are a couple solutions. I've mentioned before that I intend to make a wither skeleton farm because they drop coal. The other solutions would be to do like a bamboo farm and burn bamboo, kelp. You can make the automatic kelp farm where you cook kelp to make kelp to dry kelp to, yeah. I think I like the idea of making a wither skeleton farm just because it's a fun build to do. It's challenging to get the nether completely pacified in order to make the farm. So I think that might be the next farm build that we do. But I'm happy with this progress for now. I know it's not done. Nothing I do is quite done. Yeah, the next couple builds will have to be like finishing up this up. So like this iron farm needs to be finished. There's no walls on it. I now have a source of coarse fruit to get the whole thing done up. But what I need to do is, because it is the community event, and it is now the 16th. I've only got 2 weeks left basically to finish it, so I need to keep working on my skyscraper. So let's go get a couple hours onto the skyscraper. Well, another day later, or 2 actually, and I'm back to the community event area, and I want to concentrate on the exterior. So I've done a lot, I've spent many hours actually working on the exterior glass facade of this. I'm getting there. Up top is getting really difficult to try to maintain some kind of shape. If I can fly up here a little bit and show you what I mean. I'll probably watch me die here. So, for example, yeah, like through here, this line, I had to make it wider, and because for some reason I should have just kept this building straight the whole way up, but I stepped it out. So this had to get wider by 1 to make up for the added circumference. And then I had to shrink it back down, and then you shrink it again, and then you shrink it again. So the squares start to lose their shape a little bit. And then from here up, they're going to get way smaller and distorted. So I think once I get up here, the bigger problem is going to be to just maintain the colors as best I can. Like this the darker strip, and I think if the white gets narrower, maybe that will make more sense. But I've got a good amount around, but I'm getting, that's a bit much. Let's see if I can land over here on this little platform. So yeah, I've got quite a ways up, but you see it gets kind of distorted. I wish it was perfect, but yeah, it is. It's going to be the back side of it. So, and I removed most of the dirt the whole way up, as far as I can, that I'm complete the whole way around. But you can see, like, I scaffold up and mark out what I can. But I want to get past that for today, and for probably next week I'll have the exterior completely done, and we can work it on the interiors. But what I want to do today to be finished with is to make a retaining wall. And I don't quite have a plan yet as what to do, but I've finished digging it out, and I've put cobblestone. I'm just going to put a sheer retaining wall up, and I think I'll take this off the whole way down. And I don't have a set plan yet for the retaining wall, but I'm just thinking, like, Stoic has designed this area where, like, the stone brick is like the main block along with some andesite. So I think what I'll do is that the main part of the walls can just be, I'll just brute force and do a whole bunch of stone brick. I'll cover the whole thing with stone brick, and then I'll come back in and make, like, detailing work with andesite and, like, the walls. I don't have any end rods for lighting, but that can be remedied. But yeah, let me get this digging done. I'll cover the whole thing in stone brick, and we'll come back. None of this should be a spoiler, so my build is right over there in the background. And I've snuck over into Stoic's area just to get an idea, get some inspiration for the retaining wall. Because it should sort of tie in at least to what he's doing around here. So what I see mostly through here is, like I said, stone brick. Maybe break it up with some cobble to add some variety. He likes to line it with the chiseled, and then this pattern of the lapis. So I'll work some of these in. I'll do the vast majority of it stone brick, and then put some cobble in. What I've done is I've squared it off completely. I wasn't sure if I want to, like, angle these corners in, but what I think I'll do is I'm just going to do a sheer straight wall, and then this will let me put in maybe like a little garden. I don't have a time to do a whole lot of exterior decorations. And it's going to be really narrow here too, but maybe, like, yeah, sheer wall. I'll get a tree in, and maybe like a little bench, park bench or something. This needs to have a walkway around it at the very least. This is just a temporary floor to just keep mobs from spawning. But this leads to the other thing, is I've looked at some source material, and it appears that yes, the entrances appear to be just the pattern without glass, but it also seems to be that I should replace these with white around with the entrances, and it looks like the entrance kind of like creates a foyer inside. So, like, from that point I'll extend the wall in maybe to about here, and then I'll make a room out of this space. The other thing for the interiors, I finally saw like a little blueprint kind of schematic, and although the pattern had more, this is the basic gist of the interiors. I think what I'm going to do, because like I had to simplify it for Minecraft. So it's going to be basically a square and a square, like 4 squares kind of working themselves up in the interior, and then the space, the inside square will be where the staircase is. And we'll get 1, 2, 3, maybe just 4 levels in, and put, like I said before, a restaurant on the top. Maybe we'll do some spiral staircase up the middle. Or, that's a long ways to do a spiral staircase. We'll do a bubble elevator. But no, let's just quickly change this all to stone brick. Well, I had that completely changed over for stone brick, and it looks hideous. Looks pretty bad. It's a whole lot of brick. So how am I going to make this look like something intentional? So he used a lot of chiseled, so I can cap with chiseled. He's also got a lot of redstone lamps with daylight sensors, so I could work them into it. Here in the corners, I could square it off and make some interest there in the corner. Or I could square it off and put a planter. Yeah, I could put a planter in the corners. And then just every, maybe I'll count every 10 or whatever it is to make an equal amount, and put the polished andesite up the wall to make a grid, and then wherever the center point being is where I'll put the lapis triangle that he's got. And that's a lot of space. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll come back in and I'll come back in afterwards and like do some block variation of stone and cobblestone. So that will give me a plan to make this look a little bit better. So the planter, I could put a tree in, so it'll have to be a little bit bigger than this because the tree won't grow quite there. If I want to do like a giant for scale, maybe like a giant spruce, I'll probably have to put it at least out a block, maybe here, so that I can make a planter. I can make a round planter, actually. I could do like a quarter. Yeah. And it can come up, for scale wise, I could bring it up like 2 or 3 blocks. And we'll get them in the corners. There. Plans are coming together. Well, I'm getting happier with what I'm doing here. So I'm adding some texture to the walls with just block variation. I added a little bit of a pillar to the end of the walls. I put in Stoic's kind of symbol around. Now I changed it because I put a light source in behind and put a wall so that the light came through. And then I put path blocks down through here. And the cool thing about path blocks is where they're not a full block height. You can hide lights underneath of it. So I put a bunch of sea lanterns down, and you can see how the light just shines right through. And so as I expand this path out, more and more light will come through. And then I followed Stoic's kind of pattern was he used the smooth stone for his walkways. So I just brought a walkway from the front to the what's going to be the doorways. Interior's still not done, of course. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this week. I'll continue to do the to work on this. I might work in some walls too, just to let some light in. And the other thing I'm thinking about is about 5 blocks above that, maybe make a little arch, like on Stoic's bridge, just to kind of separate it. And there too, this retaining wall is plenty high enough. I could probably put another one of these up top. But you can see, like, this little bit of lighting's actually stopped spawning down through here. I might get a yeeper coming from up there somewhere, but this is going to be plenty of decoration, I think. That's not supposed to be there. Might be nice to have some water of some sort. So maybe even through here I could work in a little pond in by the wall. It doesn't have, I'm not trying to waste a whole lot of time with the decoration on the outside. I have to finish the inside first. But yeah, I put a tree up front and a tree in back. Could probably do with just some random trees and through here, but this can all wait till after too. I don't know if it needs to be a giant one. We could probably just go with a couple smaller ones. Kind of give it some texture, some variety. The other thing I have to worry, I don't want to do too bad, is overdo it. Like, you'll notice the great thing about Stoic's area is it's quite simple. It's the building. It's not cluttered with a whole bunch of extra stuff. So actually those trees can't stay there because you can't really see the doorway. So I'm not going to show the rest on camera, but I'll finish up the pattern on the building, so the building's done. I'll finish up the terraforming around the outside so that next week next week we can go to just interior of this and hopefully get it just about done. Maybe next week I won't have the entire interior done, but if I can get walls up, I'm not going to the level of putting in furniture in all the rooms. I don't have the patience nor the time for it. But I should be able to get walls in. And then the other thing for me next week would be I'm going to try to look for a nether fortress to make a farm, so I can finish up my little nether island with my smeltery. But thanks for watching, and we'll try to get this done up.